Made man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing, man. So I'm sitting here reading this article talking about Shawn Porter and Errol Spence Jr. We know they have an upcoming unification fight coming up. And some excerpts were taken away, and I'm guessing from their last press conference. Some excerpts has been taken away of some things that were said during that press conference. And Showtime Shawn Porter basically indicated to Errol Spence Jr. that I'm going to cut you. Literally, I am going to cut you. Shawn Porter has this reputation of being a dirty fighter. And a lot of people, fans and fighters would always kind of point that out about Showtime Shawn Porter. He's dirty. He leads in with his head. He hits you everywhere: head, shoulders, knees, and toes, below the belt, headbutts, the whole nine, elbows. They say that's what Shawn Porter is. And me, as a fight fan, I don't normally mind that because it's the fight game and you got to do what you got to do to win. Sometimes if you got to get a little rugged, it is what it is. This is the fight game. I mean, veterans of the fight game has been doing dirty tactics for years. But a lot of fight fans are turned off by this. They don't like the fact that Shawn Porter is a dirty fighter. Now, it's one thing to perceive Shawn Porter as a dirty fighter, but it's another thing to hear him actually speak in the manner of a dirty fighter and actually embrace it as a dirty fighter. Now, I'm going to be 100 with you. I thought that he was being a little sarcastic when he was kind of giving his remarks during that press conference. I thought there was some sarcasm in there, but I could be wrong. He could be really meaning it. I do remember actually seeing them say these words during the press conference, and I remember saying to myself, well, he's just probably being a little sarcastic, but it's hard to tell. And a lot of fight fans, when they read this in an article, well, guess what? Words get lost in translation. So people are going to start to assume that this is exactly what Shawn Porter means, and he's not being funny. He ain't being sarcastic. Let's read an excerpt from what was said. Spence says, I'm better than you talent-wise and skill-wise, and I know I got better power than you. You're going to find out on September 28th that I'm going to dog you. Porter then comes back and says, when I cut you, we're going to find out what's going on. End quote. And I'm going to stop right there for a minute. See, and this is what I mean. So if he was being sarcastic, though, like, why would he lead off with that statement? Like, when I cut you, we're going to find out what's going on. Now, the following statements that I'm going to read afterwards sounds more sarcastic. But that first statement, when I cut you, we're going to find out what's going on, that sounds a little bit more like he might have meant it. You know what I mean? Because he led off with it. But anyway, he goes on to say, Errol Spence says, the only way you're going to cut me is with an elbow or a headbutt. And Porter says, right, because that's what I do. I go in with my head, end quote. Spence says, the way you did with Andre Berto and the way you did with Devin Alexander, that's what you do. And Porter comes back and says, I'm intentionally trying to be a dirty fighter, end quote. Now, when I read those last two statements from Shawn Porter, when he says, right, because that's what I do. I go in with my head. That's like saying it in a sarcastic way. Like, yeah, right. That's what I do, right? You saying I'm a dirty fighter, so I guess I leads in with my head. I took it in that fashion. You know what I mean? And then when I hear him at the end says, yes, I'm intentionally trying to be a dirty fighter. I mean, of course he ain't intentionally trying to be a dirty fighter. I mean, I wouldn't think Shawn Porter will come out and say something, got the balls to say something like that. You know what I mean? I mean, that would turn fans off altogether. And if he's looking to play the villain, well, you just enhanced the villain role, Shawn Porter. You know what I'm saying? But it seems like those two statements right there, they seem more sarcastic. The first statement, I don't know. But those last two definitely seem a little sarcastic. But like I said, if you read this, if you didn't see the press conference, you didn't actually hear them say this, it will seem to you that Shawn Porter is intentionally trying to cut Errol Spence Jr. And now I'm going to say this. If Shawn Porter does mean it, like, yo, this is what I'm going to do, man, that's foul. That's foul and that's wrong. You don't tell a fighter, a guy, this is how he makes his money. This is how he earns his money. This is how he feeds his family. You don't intentionally tell a fighter that you are down to hurt them or cut them or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just not right, man. You don't go in there and telling a fighter that I'm intentionally trying to cut you. Now, also, Shawn could be trying to intimidate Errol, too. That's something he could be doing. He can be coming out and saying this to let Errol Spence know to be on notice. and then maybe put a little bit of jitters up in Errol Spence Jr. Now, I don't know if he can put jitters up in Earl. Earl has the character where he seems like a humble, brave, courageous type dude. You know what I mean? And it's going to take more than just a few little words to kind of put any kind of spook into Errol Spence Jr. But maybe this is what Shawn is trying to do, some sort of intimidation. It can be viewed as that way. It could be viewed as trying to throw Errol Spence Jr. off his game. Expect this version of Shawn Porter, but however, this version of Shawn Porter is going to show up. Because I remember Shawn Porter during the press conference also looking at Earl like, you can box, Earl? You can box? And Earl was like, well, I'm an Olympian. I'm an Olympian, ain't I? You seen what happened with Mikey? And Shawn is looking at him like, oh, yeah, really? You know, you damn well you can't box, but you think you can box? Oh, okay. You know, I know. You can box, Earl, for real? So when I hear him talking in that fashion, it's like he thinking he can outbox Earl. So I don't know what Shawn Porter's intentions were behind saying these words, but the one thing that I'm hoping is that it wasn't like some intentional, exactly this is what I'm going to do. Because for people to see this and hear this, man, a lot of people are shocked. And they're taking it in a way like Shawn really means it. They're not taking it in a sarcastic way. And mainly because a lot of people read this as opposed to actually seeing or heard this. So I don't know, man. And if you did see or hear this and you feel as though Shawn Porter still meant it, well, hey, maybe he meant it. I don't know. If he meant it, it's foul. It's foul and it's wrong. It's foul and it's wrong. And Shawn need to understand something too. Because Earl said something during that press conference that I took out, and that was, yo, if you're willing to get down and dirty like this, well, guess what? I'm willing to do the same thing. I can throw elbows. I can lead off with the head. I can do a lot of dirty stuff myself. Now, the one thing that we've always seen Shawn Porter involved in his dirty fights, we ain't never actually seen an opponent that's willing to give it right back to him dirty. So what happens if Shawn Porter gets dealt dirty by a bigger, stronger fighter? That's something that Shawn needs to ask himself. Does he want to start that? Does he want to open that can of worms? Does he wants to go down the dirty road against a bigger, possibly stronger man? It's going to be interesting to know if Errol Spence Jr. is the bigger, physically stronger fighter, because Shawn Porter is a physically strong fighter as well. We just don't know which one is the strongest of the two. But if Shawn go in there trying to be dirty, and he get in there with a physically stronger man trying to be dirty, what happens when that physically stronger man gets even dirtier with him? These are things he needs to understand. And like I said before, I hope he don't mean it. But we'll see. So to the next video, Main Man Made Man. Don't forget to subscribe. Twitter, Made Man 511. Facebook, Main Man Made Man Boxing Forum. Instagram, Main Man Made Man. Right, get up with me tomorrow night for We Talking Boxing on Wednesday nights. It's gonna be lit. It's gonna be live. Matter of fact, one of the subscribers brought this up in the last live stream. They brought this up that Shawn Porter had said this, and when they first told me this, I was just like, oh man, that's foul, and I hope he don't mean it. And I still had that same feeling now. That's not a cool thing to say, Shawn. To say I'm going to intentionally do this and I am going to cut you, man. That's foul. That's foul, and it could cause a lot of other fighters to stay out of the way of Shawn Porter because they don't want to have to deal with that. They don't want to have to risk being cut, risk being injured. This is people soon to forget that Shawn Porter at once upon a time was struggling to get a fight. Prior to Keith Thurman, Shawn was hunting for a big name opponent. People didn't want to give him the time of day because of his style. And for you to say what you're saying, well, it just reinforced what people was already thinking. You dig? To the next video. Peace out.